Institutional transformation and leadership development in higher education. Key results from the EU-funded NEWLEAD surveys presented by Luisa Bunescu and Thomas Esterman from the European University Association. EUA is the largest and most comprehensive university association in Europe. With over 800 individual institutions in 48 countries and 33 national university associations, we cover the entire European higher education area. In 2020, EUA partnered up in the EU-funded NEWLEAD project, which aims to build the capacity of university leaders across Europe in successfully steering change and in addressing complex institutional transformation agendas. When it comes to leadership development and institutional transformation in higher education, there is in fact not much evidence on the institutional and system level approaches in Europe. To address this, the NEWLEAD partners released 2 surveys between March and June 2021. The first survey covered the institutional picture on leadership development and transformation. It was addressed to senior university and faculty representatives, including senior managers. This survey yielded 236 valid responses from higher education leaders in 27 European higher education area countries. The sample is uneven, with European countries being represented at various degrees. The highest participation comes from Poland. This has to be taken into account when looking at the results. To capture the system-level perspective, a second survey targeted EUA member national university associations as sector representatives. This survey returned responses from 21 different national university associations from across Europe. This is a presentation of key results. A more detailed analysis will be published in autumn 2021 in the form of a report. For every graph featured here, we will point only to the main issues. Should you want to have a closer look at any particular graph, you can pause the video at any time and resume later on. Change in national legislation and the adoption of a new strategy in higher education are important driving forces for institutional transformation in those systems where they are underway. Poland is one such example, where a new law on higher education and science was adopted in 2018. This new law represented an impetus for institutional transformation at Polish higher education institutions to adapt their educational offer and governance models to the new legislative requirements. In systems where such changes to national legislation or national strategy are not underway, European and international trends and financial pressures are the ones driving the institutional transformation agenda. Nearly 3/4 of the respondents to the institutional survey said that improving efficiency, effectiveness, and value for money is the key priority area for transformation at their institution. This connects to financial pressures as a driver for institutional transformation, as shown in the previous slide. 68% of respondents pointed to further developing the societal mission of their institution as priority area for transformation. Enhancing equity, diversity, and social inclusion was the focus of transformation for half of the respondents. Other priority areas for institutional transformation included quality education, developing research capacities, internationalization, addressing the Sustainable Development Goals, and digitalization. Institutional transformation is mostly supported by universities themselves, which set internal funding apart for this objective. A third of the national university associations, nevertheless, mentioned earmarked national funding reserved for institutional development and transformation, and only 29% said that public authorities in their systems set targets as part of the funding model in support for institutional transformation. EU-level initiatives were not seen as a significant means to support institutional transformation. While there are aspects of capacity building in European funding instruments, this does not seem to be considered a well-established funding source for institutional transformation.
The surveys also aimed at exploring which leadership profiles are considered part of the executive management team and if they changed in the past decade. Rectors and vice-rectors are without surprise leading this table, but 70% of the institutional respondents also consider deans as part of the former leadership teams. Heads of administration, directors general, and chief operating officers are considered part of the leadership team by 65%. This goes up to almost 80% if the institutional answers from Eastern Europe are left out. That shows that perceptions of who is part of the leadership team are influenced by culture, traditions, and by the type of governance structures found in the different systems. Although not formally part of the leadership team at their universities, several other profiles were considered as effective leaders. This includes well-respected researchers, student representatives, trade union representatives, and experienced teaching staff. Slightly over half of the national university associations stated that in their systems, the profile of institutional leaders has evolved in the past decade. The most striking change has been the reinforced attention paid to gender when selecting the executive head. For instance, in Ireland, one of the requirements for appointments as president of an Irish university is to show evident experience in leadership in advancing gender equality. Other changes in the profile of leaders are related to more diverse professional backgrounds, such as from business and industry, and age limitations as imposed by some systems. Additionally, what can be observed is that senior management profiles are on the rise. There is certainly a strong connection with the push to make universities more efficient and effective. 70% of the institutional respondents considered leadership development an essential tool for driving major organizational change. Despite this, leadership development in European universities is mostly supported through rather soft mechanisms such as national and international professional networks or thematic peer groups. Top management programs for senior leaders or other university staff are not the norm across Europe. They represent only under a third of the offer. One reason for this could be that leadership training is rarely a requirement for accessing top leadership positions. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that 86% of the national university associations see untapped potential for leadership development programs in their systems. Even those that have such programs in place recommend a more systemic approach. What do leadership development programs usually tackle? Leading and managing staff and teams, as well as strategic planning, are the two most discussed topics in such programs. Developing technical knowledge, such as financial and project management, came in next. The most often cited target group for leadership development schemes were current top academic and executive leaders and aspiring leaders preparing to take up senior positions in the future. Some of the schemes that we mapped out, and which will be featured in the upcoming report, address both academic and managerial staff, while others focus on specific leadership profiles. We also found some leadership development programs that specifically target women who would like to develop capacities for leadership role and responsibilities. Most national university associations mentioned that support for leadership development comes from institutional funding. Nevertheless, only 27% of the institutional respondents said that their institution has a special budget reserved for leadership development opportunities. Funding from public authorities for country-level programs on leadership development remains limited, as well as EU-targeted support. Stay tuned for more insights into the survey results and concrete examples. We will soon publish the results on the EUA's website as well as on the website of the NEWLEAD project. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.